All right, welcome back. So here I have my plastic sheet on the picture of the head and the neck. And now that I'm going to go into more detail, I'll identify the nerves and then I'll also talk about the innervation or the distribution of those nerves. So again, just going through the order on your nerve list. So the first one is your lesser occipital nerve. We have that here. So the reason why I like the pictures from your text compared to your lab manual is they show the destinations better. So some of these head and neck ones in your lab manual just show little trunks. They look like little yellow tubes, but they don't really show where the destination is. So seeing how the lesser occipital actually goes up and innervates around the lower part of the occipital bone is a really big anatomical clue to that's what that nerve is. So the distribution of this one, as it says in this description here, which is the same that's in your nerve list, says the skin of the neck and the scalp, posterior and superior to the ear. So it's going to be just innervating the skin. So when you're touching or scratching the back of your head, that information will be traveling towards your spinal cord via the lesser occipital nerve. The next one on the list is the phrenic nerve. So we can see that down here. So that's going to innervate the diaphragm. So this is the one that sends all the motor commands to tell your diaphragm to contract. So this one here, we can kind of see, it's a pretty long, straight one, kind of goes behind some of the musculature and kind of some of the bones there. I'm adding an extra little line. The phrenic nerve is very important because if it gets severed, you can't breathe. And so either you will die or you'd have to be on a ventilator for the rest of your life. So that's why this particular, oh, I moved it. That's one of the dangers of doing this here. So if you have spinal cord injury way up here in like the C3, C4 area and you sever the very beginning of the phrenic nerve, that's where you get very serious spinal cord injuries where the person may die or can't do anything below that cervical region, which would be including breathing. So they'd have to have an artificial ventilator. So that's your phrenic nerve. The next one is the supraclavicular, right below it here on the picture. So these guys, again, really easy to identify because we know our clavicle from 231. And this is a nice big spreading out nerve that sits just over or superior, supra, to the clavicle. So the supraclavicular nerves, because they kind of distribute and spread out, they serve the skin of the neck and the shoulder. So think of, neck, shoulder. That information will be traveling to your spinal cord via the supraclavicular nerves. The next one on the list is the great auricular or greater auricular, I think is what it says in the list. The book just says great. So this is one that's going to be coming up, it kind of loops around and comes up right by that external acoustic meatus. So if you remember that from our bone list, that's a good clue that it's the auricular because your auricle, he's missing his ear, but that fleshy part of your ear is called the auricle. Okay. And it innervates the skin over the posterior aspect of the ear and the neck. So more of the back side of your neck and your ear is the greater auricular nerve. Okay. So those are all of the nerves that are associated with this diagram. Usually associated with the cervical plexus. There's a few that you don't need to know, so if it's not on the list, you don't have to worry about it. All right, so we'll come back and take a look at the nerves of the brachial plexus in more detail.